name is Sjoerd de Jong, also known as Haurensis, and I started out with game development in 1999 by modding the original Unreal. From Unreal I moved on to modding on tournaments. I created 24 standalone levels for that game, as well as several of its biggest mods, Excedia and Operation Apali. In 2003 it was that work that got me into the games industry. I started out with a small job for Streamline Studios, after which I was contracted by Epic Games to work on Anno Tournament 2004 as a level designer. I made 7 of the official levels, including the 2 demo levels Tolan and Rankin. After that contract, I was hired by Guerrilla Games and I worked on Shellshock NAM 67 for a year, and a bit on the first Killzone. I then moved on to Kaon Games, where I worked on the big Unreal Engine 2 MMORPG The Chronicles of Spellborn, while in the meantime I wrote my 2 books, and I took on contracts for Digital Extreme, on the Unreal Engine 2 shooter Warpath, and for WebSen on the Unreal Engine 3 game Huxley. After all that, I was employed by Starbreeze, and I worked on Syndicate for a while, followed by the startup of my own company Theodol Studios. At Theodol Studios, I directed and I worked on our Unreal Engine 3 game The Ball and the UDK game Unmechanical. While working for my own studio, I also took on a contract for Plastic Piranha, as well as for several other smaller clients. Plus all of that aside, I'm also responsible for large bits of Sweden's prime game development indication Future Games nowadays. I wrote my first tutorial sometime around 2002, and I've over the years built out my website haurensis.com into a tutorial and training focused site. Hello and welcome to this mobile content and level development video. In this video we will go through all the steps required to get content and levels to look and run as good as possible on a mobile device. We will begin with configuring the engine for proper mobile use, and after that we will move on to importing textures, setting up materials including complex ones like normal map surfaces, water, gradients and so on, followed by mesh and brush optimization and rendering, level design workflow, performance techniques, collisions, particles, lighting, post-processing, and lastly sounds and music. Basically animations aside, covering all forms of content you're likely to use in your productions. Throughout the video, I will be using the iOS version of our Apple-featured UDK game Unmechanical, as example on how my techniques have been implemented into a full game. A lot of the information in this video are things I found out through trial and error while working on Unmechanical. A lot of this cannot be found anywhere at all online, or only in bits and pieces left and right. So this is everything we did to get Unmechanical to run on nearly every iOS device out there, and how we handled scaling down from the PC game to iOS and then from that one to the low-end iOS version. This video requires you to have basic knowledge of the Unreal Engine in general, but not of mobile development. The video also requires you to have an iOS device. iPad 2 or iPhone 4S or newer are strongly preferred, and you also are to have an Apple developer license installed. During this video we will be converting this level. So it's originally made for PC. It has all kinds of features in here that mobile does not support, and at the time being it's not made for mobile at all. So this is really a PC level as it is. This is what we will practice on, all the different techniques and the optimization ways of optimizing the level. If you were to put this on mobile as it is right now, for example by pressing that button, and also before we go there even, make sure you have that Apple developer license installed. So you have this URL on UDN. Make sure you've gone through this. I'm not going to go through this in the video. This is basic essential stuff to get going. But make sure you have set up the license so you can install on an Apple device. Once you've done that, you can just connect your Apple device and press that button to install it directly from here to the the iOS device. I never ever use the mobile emulation features, and I never use the mobile preview either. Both of them are very inaccurate, and the moment you start testing performance or you start testing advanced graphical features, none of these get anywhere near the level that they should be. So I never ever use this, it's completely inaccurate. I always test everything instantly on the device. In any case, if you were to put this level on an iOS device as it is right now, and I put this on my iPad 3, then it would look like this. So this is a screenshot I took, And this runs at 10 FPS. It's very dull, the lighting is quite flat, not entirely flat, but it's quite flat. You can see here it's quite washed out over there. It's basically just diffuse textures as well. Actually it is just diffuse. So there is nothing really going on in the materials, it's just a texture assigned to the meshes. And that's pretty much it. The fire at the end is also very, very bad. I can show you that later on when we talk about particles. These appear black. These are 2 K actors. So what we have in the level is we have a couple of different things. These are K actors. So we have some physics objects with dynamic lighting applied. We have a dynamic light here. See, this is a dynamic light and it plays a light function. We got 3 particles, the fire, and there's 2 small ones over here. The fire in particular is very, very bad. It's very unoptimized. This is one of the fires Epic made for one of the example levels, but it's very bad for mobile. And then we have a lot of shiny metal in the meshes, the windows here. Of course, all the specular on all the metal over here. We have some glass. Then we have a number of interpactors as well. These things rotate and are interpactors. Same for over here. And also I believe the door here is an interpactor. There's nothing behind it. It's not animated, but as a test case, this is an interpactor as well. We have some fog volume underneath the ground. We got some God rays or whatever you want to call it, a light volume or so coming from the lights. We have a couple of decals. So it's a pretty good test case. It's a small level, but it covers most things. We also have some water actually. It's a very simple water material here, but it shows a point of water. And there is a fair amount of detail going on in the environment. In any case, if you put this on iOS right now, as it is right now, it would look like this, and it would run at 10 FPS on an iPad 3. So I guess it would run at like 5 FPS on an iPad 2, and it probably runs something like 20 FPS on an iPad 4. So that's quite bad. However, after we will be done with this video, it will look like this. So this is the final product. Not 100% perfect. Mobile is still not a PC. There are some limitations. But we do have materials and everything now. You can see this has materials. It's not just a diffuse texture. It has specular applied. It has normal maps applied. You can see it on the ground here very clearly as well. You can see the structure of this here. You have specular here in the middle. It has its normal map. You can see the ground here, the bricks on the ground. They're normal mapped as well. We have some nice glow here from the fire. The fire is optimized. We need to handle emissive materials there. The water is taken care of. You can't see it here, but the water is taken care of as well. We have a fog plane in these pits. The glass is taken care of as well. So we have a lot of these kind of things implemented. And this now runs at 40 FPS on my iPad 3. So performance went up 4 times, and its normal map has specular and looks a lot more advanced.